Welcome to the power of gratitude, shifting perspective during darker days, an empowering discussion that aligns with biblical principles and the greater good of humanity. In a world where challenges can cast shadows over our lives, we believe that cultivating gratitude is a beacon of hope and a divine gift. In our previous videos, we discussed seasonal depression as it relates to the Dutton family and the struggles with being hyper connected to devices. Now, we're diving into the profound impact of gratitude and overcoming these challenges. Life's twists and turns can lead us down difficult paths, but by embracing gratitude, we can illuminate even the darkest days. So join us as we explore how gratitude can shift perspectives, elevate our spirits, and offer hope when it's needed most. For those seeking deeper connection and community support, we invite you to join our exclusive Diamond Club. It's packed with invaluable resources, webinars, and enriching content. You can also become a part of the community where individuals come together, share their journeys, offer support, and uplift one another. If you're ready to harness the transformative energy of gratitude and shine a light on even the darkest days, this conversation is definitely for you. So, again, make sure that you subscribe and share it with somebody that you know, love, and care about. So, gentlemen, did you know a survey conducted by the National Institute for Healthcare Research found that people who regularly practice gratitude experience a 30% reduction in depressive symptoms? That's number one. Number two, research from the University of California, Davis found that people who regularly express gratitude have lower blood pressure and stronger immune systems. And lastly, a study by Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania showed that expressions of gratitude from supervisors increased employee productivity by nearly 50%. So, gentlemen, I would like to drop this first question in your lap because this falls under the category of gratitude's impact on mental health. How would you describe gratitude?
I think, well, I'm glad you said describe, not define, because it it settles in you differently because it's a way of thinking, it's a way of conceptualizing, it's a way of viewing situations, scenarios, life, and to me. So when you can take a situation and you can view, and that's what I mean by the way we view, and you view it through a different lens other than, I'm being attacked, right? Or other than, everyone don't like me or is against me, but you take it in a sense of things are playing out the way they need to play out for an ultimate plan or ultimate goal. And so I'm grateful there. I don't- it's hard for me when I think about gratitude to think of it in a I guess you say microcosm mindset. Like I'm not grateful for, oh, we got off 15 minutes early, or, and I guess those things do help bring lift the spirit of employees, or, but for me is bigger, is I see things bigger, or maybe that's just my experience, right? I had to be able to see things bigger to be able to be grateful for all that is happening because of a greater outcome that's expected.
Okay, I like that. I like that. What
I
else?
think for me, coming from where I come from, well, coming from where I come, experiencing the things that I've experienced and all the lows that I've had in my life to be where I am now. And I'm not talking about financially, I'm talking about overall and just being able to be alive. I have no choice but to be thankful because I know it could be a lot worse. So I try to be thankful in all things, whether it's bad things or whatever. It's always another opportunity that it'll get better. I always make myself see things the right way, the proper way, and not just the way I want them to be. Because some people only like to see things when the outcome benefits them. Whether it benefits me or not, I'm here. And if it goes my way, cool. If it doesn't, cool. I'm still here. So I'm thankful for the mere chance of being here, the opportunity to say thankful, the opportunity to be appreciative, and to show that, because I know too many people who, where they're like, Tawami was saying, getting off 15. If we say we got off, it's only 5 minutes. It's five more than you had. Or if you get $1, you find $1. It was only $1. It's more than you had. I always look at the positives and not the negatives, because I've been down and out and didn't have, and it's like, that doesn't make you feel good. Focusing on the negative has never made me feel good, has never made me look and see a brighter side to anything. All it did was make me focus on what was negative. So I try not to focus on that, because I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel down and gloomy. Even this morning, when I went outside, I made a post because it was raining. It was raining. It was drizzling. The sky was gray. And I say it's raining, but I'm the sunshine for me. I'm not worried about whether or not I see it in the sky. I got to be the sunshine for me and my surroundings, not what's coming out of the sky.
Let me ask you this, because you said that, and I may mess it up, so forgive me if I do. You made a comment like you said you made a comment like not, having a grateful attitude, and that's my phrase, by the way. When it benefits you, it's not just when it benefits you. Can you kind of describe what you mean by that? Because I think that may have been missed in context.
Some people will celebrate when they win, but when they lose, or when it's a battle, or when it's struggle and strife, then it's like, oh, it's like they looking, everything is down and everybody's against them, rather than seeing that, man, this may be an opportunity for me to succeed through this. Because sometimes we look at struggle as something that happening to us and not through us and for us. See, when it happens to and through and for, then this is going to build me up. It's like when we go to the gym. If you go to the gym and look like, oh, these weights are beating me down, yeah, they beat you down for a purpose. Because when you finish, the result will be what you look for it to be. But if you fail right now by saying, okay, I can't lift that, and you don't even try because you looked at what was there and not what could be, then you show no appreciation for your success in the future.
I like that. I like that. Great explanation. Brother with the clean haircut, what you got for us?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was really sitting here thinking about how to describe gratitude, and I couldn't come up with anything that would do it justice. So I really don't know. Like, I mean, we can use the definition of it just being grateful, but it's way deeper than that. It's way deeper than just being grateful for what you have and who you are and where you are. It's to describe it. I just don't know. I do know it feels good. I do know that. Like gratitude might be one of the gratitude is like a really, really positive feeling. But that being said, that's about as far as I can go to adequately describe what gratitude feels like for me.
I definitely appreciate you sharing that, because one thing I would say is that I don't think it's just you. I think there is, and this is just my perspective before we transition here in a hot second. Um, it's just my perspective. I think a lot of times we exist in a cloud, and that cloud is an illusion of what we believe gratitude is. And that's kind of like what Roland was saying, right? As long as it's benefiting me, as long as it looks good, as long as it's, adding to me, as long as it looks like from the outside that I'm doing good. But what does it look like when you're not? Right. So I think a lot of people exist here, and they harness and they relish in the feeling of being successful based upon whatever their metric of success looks like. But then on the other side, when this happens, they recluse. Now, where's that same energy you had over here? Right? Like bring that to the table, because that's what your life is requiring for you at that time. Now, I want to hit the pause button for a second, because we're going to come back to it, because I want to give a shout out to my younger brother whose birthday is today. He is 48 years young. Uncle Junior himself.
Yo.
Welcome to the show. Happy birthday to you, man. Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
I just want to just give us some of that grateful expression of what it feel like give us a grateful attitude of what it feel like to be 48 today.
Man,
First
you
of
damn
all,
right.
First of all, I'm thankful for living to 48. You know, I'm not saying that I had the roughest life, that I shouldn't have been here, but I will say that I did do 2 deployments, and I was in walking distance from mortars, where people lost their lives. So with that even being on the subject, I'm grateful, first of all, for being here and being alive today. And I'm also grateful for being in the presence of greatness right now. So man, 48 feels good. I was doubting myself some time ago about being a father. But I look at all of my sons and they are either in the military, has signed up for the military, or have done their time. So at the end of the day, I did something right. I got to figure out what that was. But 48 feels good, man. Married, got a good wife, got three great sons and 2 great granddaughters. And this coming holiday coming up this week, I'm get to be around all but 2 of my nieces and nephews. So man, life is great right now. I was talking to a brother not too long ago, and he was talking about how he was ending his last 90 days or so. And for me, man, I'm ending mine, ending the year with being around family and being around people who I want to be with. It is my birthday, but I'm around the brothers who I want to be with. I text coach, I'm gonna be honest, I text y'all and I was like, look, look, man, I had a big old drink. So if I get too much, cut me off. You know what I'm saying? But I tried to make sure that I was good and decent and present.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can come on the show because I made a commitment that I was going to be here. So at the end of the day, I want to be here. I enjoy it. I wanted to be here. I could be playing the game. I could be celebrating my birthday and all these different things. But I rather, I'm where I want to be right now on my birthday. So I thank all you guys for the impact that you have had on my life, to whereas I would rather be here on my birthday and not doing something else. So pat yourself on the back for something like that. So that's it.
Man, I appreciate that, man. And I am honored that this is a place that you feel welcome, that you feel valued, and that this is a place that you want to be, even on your birthday, right? I am just honored to hear that, because again, that's what we set out to do when we started doing this. What, about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, right?
Yeah, man.
So yeah, it's touching to hear you say that. And I think, if I may sing your praises for a second, I think just that as an example is something that we men got to get better at doing. We men got to get better at acknowledging one another, lifting each other up, and actually telling each other that you love them. And however you feel comfortable doing it. If the words can't come out your mouth, then say it in some fashion to where the other person understands how much you value them. So, man, again, I appreciate you saying that. And again, it's very touching, very touching. Now I'm about to put you on the spot.
Yes, sir.
Celebration over. About to
Yes,
put
sir.
you on the spot.
Let's do it.
Gratitude is the conversation for today. And I've just asked the brothers, how would they describe gratitude? So for a brother who's been celebrated all day and probably gonna be celebrated for the rest of the weekend, right? How would you describe gratitude?
I've been listening to the whole show. I was trying to get my camera and stuff set up because I'd use my tripod for something else. So I've been listening to everything you guys said, even what Chris didn't say. Shoot, my phone over there ringing. Oh, it's my auntie calling me right now. My mom just called me a few minutes ago, but like, look, I put my mom on hold and my auntie on hold. You're like, I ain't answered the phone to be here. So It sounds like, but again, gratitude, man. Gratitude is about being appreciative. I think it's about being thankful and in a way being content with what you have and focusing on what you have and not what you don't have. I think, let's just take a woman, no woman is perfect, no man is perfect. When we look at relationships, but we can focus on what they call the 80-20 rule. We can focus on the 20% that they're not doing, or we can focus on the 80%. You know what I mean? So, and I think when you focus on the 80%, that's showing gratitude. It's being appreciative and being thankful for what you do have and not what you don't have. We can sit over here on Friday nights and say, well, we don't have 1 million followers yet, and 20,000 people in the chat every Friday night. But we can be grateful for the few, loyal people that are here every single Friday night. You know what I mean? So shout out to the chat and shout out to everybody who tunes in here on Friday night, because like I said, it's my birthday. It's Friday night. We all could be somewhere else, but we chose to be here for a reason. You know what I mean? And we all are focusing right now on trying to get better, trying to be better as people. And I think just focusing on that is showing gratitude. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think gratitude is, focusing on what you do have and not what you don't have. Not saying that you can't look forward to trying to do better and be better as people, or to have goals. That's totally different.
I like it, man. I like that. Man, I'm almost nervous to try to follow that up. Birthday boy coming up in here showing out tonight. I love it. Listen, I think my little 2 cents. Notice I say little. We always put the word little in front of stuff, right? So my little 2 cents is simple. I try to break it down because words mean things, right? So gratitude to me is just having a grateful attitude. And I'm sure we've all heard before that your attitude determines your altitude. So that being said, having the ability not just to celebrate all wins, but being able to find the silver lining in those situations to where you don't necessarily perceive it to be a win. Like, what did you learn from that situation? If it did not end you, then in some capacity, I guarantee that it helped you. I was just having a conversation the other day, and sometimes what we tend to do is we want to help a person that's going through some type of crisis, help a person that's going through some type of turmoil or whatever that looks like. But then I ask the question, what if you helping them is doing more harm than it is really helping them? Because what you have to realize is that a lot of time, the lesson that I choose not to learn in life, well, life has its own way of teaching me that lesson in a much different way. So if you jump in with your cape and try to rescue me, does that really help me? Or does it just prolong the time that it takes me to learn that lesson? Right. So we have to start looking at adversity difference. We got to start looking at those things that we feel, that's the key, that we feel don't serve us well. And we have to realize that first and foremost, the Most High is always on the throne. And if that's the case, then this has to benefit me in some way. And it's my responsibility to look at it and figure out what that is. It may not feel good. Got it. But just because it doesn't feel good does not mean that it isn't good. And that's what we have to consider. Grateful attitude. It's easy to do it when everything looks good, everything feels good. All the moons and the stars are lining up for you. But what happens when the eclipse comes? What happens when this happens? What happens when it doesn't look good, when it doesn't feel good? That's the space where it kind of helps us to understand that our attitude in some essence may be a little off balance, because we may be only looking at things from one lens and missing the total picture.
But Coach, isn't that really where gratitude is really tested, when it's true gratitude? Because and that's what I was talking about when I was saying, for me, is a mindset. Because when things are going right, it sounds like gratitude, but I'm just happy at the moment that things are going right. So it's easy for me to give my thank yous. It's easy for me to smile. It's easy for me to walk with my head up and my chest out. But when things aren't going the way that I think they should be going, and I'm still able to move how Roland always talks about, to see the positive, to understand things are coming together, all things are working together, right? That's I think that's the testament that of what gratitude really is, in my opinion.
No, no, I think you're absolutely correct. And that's the point. Just because we can smile and high five with our friends and do all those other great things when everything is working in our favor, right? That's not necessarily a test of your gratitude. That's not a real live depiction of it. You got to see it through the total lens. You got to look at it from the good and from the bad. You got to look at it from the stable as well. I, I don't know who I was talking to that day, and I was asking, "How is your day going?" And it's our inclination to say either it's a good day or it's a bad day. But what if it's just a day? What if it's okay? Right? Does it necessarily have to be a bad day just because nothing, astronomical happened during that day? No. If nothing astronomical happened, if everything is working, if you go to work, you got a job, you come home, you do the things that you normally do, and all is well, you got food in the refrigerator, food on the table, you hit the light switch, the light comes on, that's a good day. And I think a lot of times we struggle with doing that because we just look at the plain, the normalcy of a thing and say, well, that's how it's supposed to be anyway. So that's not necessarily a good day. That was what I expected. So sometimes we got to kind of go back and recalibrate our thoughts, go back and recalibrate our perspective when it comes down to the life that we're living compared to the life that we want to live and the life that was promised to us, more importantly. So absolutely, absolutely. Gentlemen, any final thoughts on describing gratitude before we kind of dive into chats and pull out some of these awesome comments? Nope. All hearts and minds clear? Just checking. All right. Looks like man, listen, first and foremost, I don't want to miss this moment because you mentioned her, but I want to shout out to Miss Charlotte Jordan. That's Uncle Junior's mom, if you guys didn't know it. So we always want to appreciate her when she shows up because she is just awesome. So again, welcome, Miss Jordan, and welcome, brother Adrian Thomas. Good to see you. Bring up that comment, please, if you don't mind. So, Brother Thomas asks, does gratitude happens the most for you all during the storm you are going through or after you've gone through the storm?
I would say so. It's twofold, right? And this is why I said it. I getting through the storm before taught me gratitude. When I was younger and I kept going through and things just kept seeming like they were always bad, I had to learn contentment, right? And I don't think they're the same. I had to learn contentment in order to weather. But when the storm seemed to pass over, because we used to go to church every day and saying the storm is passing over, the storm is passing over. But I didn't see the storm pass. It was just raining. And so finally getting to a place to where the storm passed taught me how to view life properly or how to view things properly. Seeing it come around allowed a younger me to become a young but not as younger me to be grateful for the storm as it's going on, because I know what it looks like when the storm passes. I know what the flowers look like when the rain, after the rain has fallen. But before, I didn't know. All I knew was the rain. So I think getting through the storm teaches us how to be not just content, but how to be grateful for the storm the next time. That's
I'm gonna say a lot of times it's when the storm is over because I have never heard anyone say, I want to go through something hard. I have never heard anyone ask for that. They just, something hard just happens to them and they happen to get through it. And then they show gratitude after they go through it. And sometimes they show gratitude for the lessons that they learn while they're going through it. But the storm itself, they didn't ask for that. but maybe that storm needed to come just because you needed to learn a few things about yourself, or you needed to change a few things about yourself. So you could be grateful afterwards, but don't nobody ask for no bad stuff to happen to them. Don't nobody ask the divine creator to test them. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody, I have never heard anybody ever pray for that. So that would be what that's just me.
Here's my 2 cents. Does gratitude happen the most for you all during the storm? So for me, it is both. Yes, I have an extreme amount of gratitude while I'm going through the storm, because I know that while I'm going through the storm, now this is the 48-year-old Unc. This is not the 20-year-old or the 25 or even the 35-year-old Unc. All right. So this is where I am now. And the only reason I'm saying now is because it says for you all doing. So I'm thinking that he's meaning in the present. So I'm speaking as in the present. So for me, I appreciate the storm now because I understand that the storm there's an ending to the storm, and then there's going to be something that has been learned from the storm. So I have an extreme amount of gratitude from the storm because now at 48, I recognize it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna learn something I'm gonna learn something from this. And when I'm learning, I may not learn it, I may not recognize it then. I may not recognize it to 6 months, 8 months, a year down the road. But when I recognize it, it's going to be so powerful and beneficial. So I do recognize it, and I am grateful and do have gratitude during the storm. I am also grateful after the storm as well, and even more grateful because you're always grateful when when you down in the dump and then you come back up again. You're always grateful for that high again. But I'm also grateful for when I recognize the lessons learned from the storm.
I think at the right age of 50, I can say it now. Before, I'd be acting the fool and I'd be like, after the storm and this, that, and the other. But I think that I would be like, because I know the story of Job and how he was considered before the storm came. I respect it and I'm grateful that it even came, because I realize that if I get through it, it's not by my hands, it's not by my might. So I'm looking at it as, man, even when things come up against me, they're there to test me. So the Most High is thinking that, oh, he needs some help. He needs to be chopped off right here. He needs some building up over here. So I'm grateful even when they come. When I got T-boned in my truck, I didn't complain. I got out. I wanted to see that the other person was okay. I wanted to make sure they were okay. I could buy a new car. Wasn't worried about that. But I wanted to make sure the people were okay. And then I didn't even see the blessing in even getting in the accident, because that's the problem. When we look at situations, you fail to see blessings in the midst of, because the blessing for that, I was $10,000, $11,000 upside down in the truck. Got out of that because they paid for it and I had Gap insurance. They paid for that. So that was wiped away. So now I start off fresh. And that's not like, oh, God bless him with a new car. No, that was me and I paid for Gap insurance. And it wasn't Aflac either. But so I look at it as you grow older and you go through things and you realize that when you get to storms, it's not necessarily by your hands. It may be by your footwork and your handiwork, but it's by his handiwork through you that you even get through situations and circumstances. So I'm grateful for whatever. If it come, it come. If I get through it and I'm still here to talk about it, I'm grateful. While I'm in it, I'm still grateful. I'm not moping in any of it, because been there, done that, and it ain't get me anywhere.
Yeah, I'm wildly agreeing with everybody here. I think, some years ago, it was 100% after the storm. It was almost like that moment. You know what I'm saying? You wipe your brow, forehead, whatever that looks like, because you realize what you just came through. So you have an extreme amount of gratitude afterwards. But in my older age, not quite 50, um, I think it's different now, right? Man, whatever. Put your watch down. I think it's quite different now. For me, kind of like what you just heard Roland said. For me, it sounds more like we glory in tribulation, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, right? So it's like those things. So when it comes forth, and when we see it, it's like, okay, this is a storm. This is something that years ago I would have panicked about, but now I'm not panicking because I understand what this is all about. So I am more expecting of the outcome. I'm looking for what I need to learn in the midst of the storm. I am consciously paying attention. I'm praying. I'm meditating. I'm focusing. Right, looking for the silver lining, looking for the lesson that I need to learn in the midst of the storm, so that once I see it, I grab hold to it and remember, right, who I put my trust in. And from that point, I focus on the end. And the end coming through the storm is really what it's all about. So that's kind of like, how my answer is. And again, I'm agreeing with everybody here. They just look different when I was younger. And so for any young man out there, if you still get that sense of extreme anxiety whenever something happens, say, for example, she call you up and say, hey, I'm pregnant. I get it. I understand. We all been there. Listen,
Need to
we
talk.
all, yeah, we need to talk, right? Which is, oh my God, I hate that. Don't do that. Don't call no man or text no man and say, hey, we need to talk. Tell them what you want. But yeah, don't have that anxiety. Don't try to get over this as soon as you possibly can. Right? Don't automatically assume if they say they need to talk, it's the worst case scenario, whatever the case may be. So on the other side of it, when life just happens, right? The bill collector's calling, whatever that looks like, you have to find a way to kind of calm that within you. Don't let the storm within you match the storm outside of you. That's the key. You have to regulate this, right? I keep talking about those emotions. You have to regulate this so that you can be in the right frame of mind, so that you can think clearly in the midst of everything that you're dealing with. So you know what? Y'all gonna stop talking about my age. That's all I'm saying. So let's grab some more of these comments real quick before we move on to the next question. Be thankful and show gratitude for any success you have, and express that same thanks and gratitude in the lessons you learned when you fail. Absolutely.
But see, here's the thing. I don't think anybody, like I said earlier, asks to fall. The fall part is what I'm talking about when I say it's difficult to be grateful. I'm grateful that I fell. How about I'm grateful that I fell and then I learned something from it? The fall itself, I don't think anybody asks for. If that
See,
makes any sense.
so right there, right? And this is why I said for me, getting through the storm before allowed me to be grateful when the storm came. I can't make the storm come. I don't create the storm, but I can't stop the storm. But just like what you said, the fact that I know that when I fall or when the storm comes, I learn the lesson and I get better. So now when the storm comes, it's not that I asked for it, but I know that I'm about to be greater on the other side of this storm, because every other time I went through a storm, he's made me greater. He's taught me a lesson. He's given me better insight of myself. I became a better me because of what he allowed me to go through. And so that's where the gratitude comes in. It's not because I wanted the storm, but since it's here, I know that there's something that I'm missing, and he's purifying through fire. Bob, I'm sorry, I don't want to get too preachy, but that's where the gratitude comes, because I know he's about to do something. I know that on the other side of this, the Tuami that went in is not going to be the Tuami that came out. And he saw fit to put me through it. So I'm grateful.
Okay. I wanted somebody to say that. Because a lot of people think that they can control the fall, or they can control whether or not something happens, and they can't. So from what everybody is saying, it is good to be indifferent about whether or not the storm is coming, and understand that there's one coming and you're going to learn something at the other end of it. That's why I wanted you to go into that. So thank you.
But does that mean that we want the storm? Because like for me, I know I'm not perfect. and I'm on a daily quest or daily journey to become better, to be a better person, right? So I know that sometimes I may not recognize a fault or an issue that I may have in my life. So, in just speaking up to this point, in most cases, the way that I have learned was something happened, and then I learned a lesson through that fall or through that storm. So, in a way, in a sense, I am kind of looking for that fall or that storm so I can learn the next lesson. I'm okay with learning it through dialogue or through conversation like this, but I am also open to learning it from a fall because I understand the fall is just more of a trip. It's not necessarily a fall. It's me maybe taking a one step back or maybe stumbling, but then learning something from the stumble to whereas I don't stumble on the same thing in the future. So in a way, are we kind of sort of wanting that storm so we can learn that lesson? And is if so, is that such a bad thing?
It's not wanting the storm. It's you wanting the lesson and sometimes a storm coming with it.
I can rock with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak. I ain't gonna speak abstract. I'm gonna speak concrete because, and I'm gonna be butt naked honest. In my
Butt
30s,
naked. What?
butt naked. Hey, just like Adam and Eve, they were
Birthday
butt
suit.
naked.
I have never heard that expression before.
Yeah.
It's a Detroit thing.
I love it here. I love it here so much.
In my 30s in the military, I got in trouble. And I said, okay, yeah, learn my lesson. Didn't learn my lesson. Got in trouble again. God, duh. I'm talking in the military. And then I got in trouble again, and I was about to go to jail. Prison jail, Leavenworth. And so okay, left that alone, went somewhere else. And now I'm in a situation where I'm like, dude, I'm ready to get out this military. It was like I was looking for something to help push me out of the military and out of this situation because it's a cycle that I couldn't get myself out of because I kept failing the lesson, So after all these times in jail and all this other stuff, I had a heart attack that stopped from me. I was supposed to go to Alaska. Now I'm on my last leg. I'm supposed to go to Alaska, then change it. Okay, going to Korea. Anybody on here been to Korea? Korea is like you going to Sodom and Gomorrah. I wasn't strong enough to go to Sodom. I would have been like Lot's wife. I'm looking back. So I'm telling the truth, butt naked honest. And that my situation that happened to me set me down where I could say, man, I'm grateful for this storm now because not only am I learning the lesson, but I'm seeing him in a brighter way, in a new light, to where I'm looking at things like, man, this happened not just to stop me from going to this place, but it started me on a trajectory of going a new place. So now I'm not even worried about that because my conscious mind is saying, I can't go that way anymore. I'm trying to walk forward. So all the storm that happened that I said, okay, I learned, which I didn't learn. And now this is the one that stops me from going in that trajectory. And now I'm going forward because I'm looking like, man, I got to learn my lesson. I got to put in the work. I got to be grateful, I'm grateful that all that happened to lead up to this one because this one, it's not like, okay, one more again, but it lets me know that, man, even in my stupidity, he was still there with me and saw me through it, but I was still stupid. And then now he's giving me another chance to get things right. And now I can say, man, I'm appreciative for the storm. I'm appreciative for the past storms. And I'm appreciative of the things that shall come because I know it's him that's going to get me through.
I got another
Yeah.
point. I got another point of view I want to share with that because I like that story because the story highlights the fact of you not making the right decisions in the appropriate moment and life happening to you. However, I know we keep saying that no one invites the storm. I don't necessarily agree with that, and here's why. Because a lot of times we ask for things that we don't necessarily have the right frame of mind for. We don't necessarily have the maturity to handle, and we're not responsible enough to be that person for it. So the storm at that point must come so that it can mature you and grow you so that you can be postured for that thing that you asked for. And too many times, what I've seen is that we'll ask for the thing over here, and then we'll complain about the storm here, even though the storm is preparing you for what you asked for, and you can't see it because you're too focused on the storm and not what the storm is actually doing to you. So that's why I say I don't necessarily agree that we don't always ask for the storm, because in most cases we do. We ask for it by ignoring the signs, being oblivious to facts, being oblivious to the information that is being told to us in real time, and holding on to a delusional mindset, thinking that we're going to get what we want outside of what the information is telling us, or saying, I want something at a higher level, which is going to require a higher version of me to get it and obtain it.
Anytime somebody
Oh.
says, I'm going to pray for patience, Lord bless me, I'm trying to be patient. Patience comes through struggle. Patience comes through strife. Patience you just don't get it because you cool, calm, and collective. You have to develop it, and the developmental process is you going through. And that's why when people say I want patience, you asking for problems to come in your life, because you're gonna have to learn how to deal with them. So now you can have that patience.
Yeah,
So
like to jump back on Roland and keep talking about his stuff. Nah, I'm
Don't
joking.
don't jump on Roland, please.
Jesus
Don't
H.
jump on Roland.
Nah, but because Coach, what you saying, because this is what jumped out at me while he was talking. It was like he absolutely and Roland know that he's my brother and I love him, so don't nobody take anything extra. But he asked for the storm by not learning the lesson the many other times, by trying to circumvent the lesson, thinking if he did it differently, or he was good enough to do it again and be better at it the next time, and like he said, almost went to jail. But the almost, like, as and I think for some of us, we don't accept the storm when it first comes, and we try to stay where we are and think we can get around the storm and not learn the lesson. And then in Roland's case, he had to be set down for a little while in order for him to not be able to move, and only had to and I'm gonna say it because I love my sister, but only had to be able to depend on his wife to nurse him back for him to get where he, but so in that case, like, and I'm agreeing with Coach, like, so in that case, you didn't, but you did ask for the storm that came, if that makes sense.
So
I see you revving up.
No, I'm gonna keep mine short. You know what popped out when Coach was talking? Earl Nightingale. We become what we think about. Sometimes we think about some bad stuff. And when you think about some bad stuff, you put that vibration out there, you get the bad stuff that you asking for indirectly by constantly focusing on it. That's what I got. I told you I was gonna keep it short.
I love it. I am glad that we really dug deep into just the idea of gratitude, because I think it has to be understood, and that kind of leads us into. I'm gonna change the order, so give me a second. It kind of leads me into the next question. Let me see. What are some let's go to the next one. What are some common challenges, in your opinion, people face when trying to incorporate gratitude into their daily routines? Now, I kind of gave mine already, right? And that is thinking that they know what gratitude is, but their concept of gratitude is based upon false pretense. So that being said, gentlemen, I'm going to sit back and let y'all have the floor.
I'm gonna say people.
Say more.
People are a common challenge. Because a lot of people out here, man, a lot of people out here have a lot of negative energy, and they say energy can never can't be created or destroyed, just transferred from one form to another or one being to another. And a lot of times, a lot of people are just draining because they have so much negativity that your gratitude and your positivity goes with them when they leave you. People are a common challenge.
Okay.
I would say habit. People are creatures of habit. So if you are used to doing something, if you're used to not being, if you're used to not incorporating gratitude into your daily routine, it's going to be very challenging, at least initially, when you're trying to incorporate gratitude, because that involves mindset, right? So shifting your mindset from thinking one way to thinking a different way, especially every single day. Like, to incorporate gratitude when you don't have gratitude, we could think of so many different ways that we could give analogies for. And one could be working out. You don't work out, it's going to be very challenging to incorporate working out into your daily routine if that's not what you're used to doing. If habitually you wake up in the morning, you eat your bowl of cereal, you watch your TV show, you go to work and you come home and do the same thing, then it's going to be very challenging for you to try to incorporate fitness into your life. So for me, one of the common challenges is just habit.
I think culture is kind of on where I'm going, so I'm gonna keep it short. For me, it's trying to incorporate gratitude into the daily routine, and it's just that simple for me. I don't think you can try to incorporate it. It's it's one of those things that life teaches you, that time teaches you, that going through teaches you. Um, so I don't think you can try to incorporate it. You what you can do is is pray for the spirit and hope that you learn the lessons as you go through life that'll teach you gratitude. Because I don't think any of us within ourselves understand gratitude to a level that we can take it and put it in our life. I guess on maybe on a personal or relational scale, like I can learn to say thank you. I can learn uh that if you let me borrow something to take care of it and give it back. Like I guess on that level, yes, but in the sense of having gratitude, that's a characteristic that is grown in us. That's that's what I believe.
That was the short version. No, let me stop. Uh, yeah, self awareness. That's my, because a lot of us aren't self aware. Like, I know I'm petty at times, but we aren't self aware. So we try to take the good that we think about ourselves and all that nasty, all that negativity, all that bad stuff, all those bad habits, all those behaviors that other people may not like, but that you're comfortable with. We don't look at this flying here. We don't look at those things and consider them. So when it comes to self-awareness, you got to look at yourself and say, man, I know this offended somebody, and I can't just write it off as that's just how I am. I can't just write off bad behaviors or pettiness or whatever it is as just, okay, they just got to get over it and get used to me, because it's not necessarily showing the attitude of gratitude in your daily life.
I love it. I love it. Man, Adrian, listen, man. He said something, and I know Uncle June, you got all boys, and Chris, I understand you don't have kids. However, um, he was saying that where did it go? I missed it. He made a comment about, there you go. I used to think I was one of the most patient guys out there. Then my daughter was born, and it's been tried ever since. Listen, let me tell you something. I got 2 boys, 2 girls. Them boys, you know what I'm saying? We have an understanding. That's just it. But them girls, I learned something. I'm still learning something new about myself still yet to this day. And all my kids are grown. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe what daughters do to men. Um, but he said it again. He made another comment that they prevent our hearts from turning cold. Like I can't stress that enough. Like you turn in, like we literally turn into silly putty for our daughters. Like my daughter can call me right now and say, "Dad, I need you," and I'm on the way. That's just it. She'll say, "I need this," and she get it, cash out, whatever. And the sad part about it's like no questions asked, bro. You know what I'm saying? Now my son, I'm on the phone like, "What you fitting to do? Why you need this?" All that stuff. But am I saying it right? No, I'm not. I'm not saying it's right. It's just a huge difference between the way I handle my daughters and the way I handle my sons because I can't describe it. Like my daughters get the softest side of me there is. Period. Point blank. It's always nurturing. It's always loving. It's always that. I agree with what he is saying. Like they get the best version of me, and they make me really look in the mirror and think, "Man, who are you?" You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes that's what you do. So I want to make sure I highlight that. Wait, hold on. Did I do that? Yeah, I wanted to make sure I highlighted that because I thought that was interesting. There was some other great comments as well. Listen, I want to make sure I'm saying this. If I do not get your comment, it's not because I don't think they're valuable. It's just because I can tell you right now, we've only went through 2 questions. I think we got like a total of 7. So it's just that we're pressing forward, but these gentlemen are adding so much value, and so are you. And so I'm appreciating what you're saying. And I will bring them up as soon as I get to it. Bring that one up that you have highlighted, please. Um, have any of you expressed gratitude towards someone that's done you wrong? If so, why? And what have you learned from that experience? If not, why not?
I'm gonna be not butt naked on this. I'm just gonna be real though. Um, I've probably looked back on a situation of what I've learned from someone that's done me wrong because I've learned how sometimes like there's nothing wrong with being trusting, but there's a certain thing as being too trusting to where it's now being gullible, right? Uh, or being taken advantage of, like situations like that. Uh, I'm grateful for what I learned from befriending people I shouldn't have, but I don't. But them specifically, and this is just how I might be wrong, and I might be doubling back and saying something against what I said. Just help me out if I am, but I ain't got nothing to be grateful for with them. What gratitude do I got to show them? I show them mercy by not. um. So for me, it's like, no, not towards them. I've been grateful about what I learned from them and been more careful with people in my life after that. But to them specifically, I highlight we don't need to talk no more.
I think I have because I think I've had people in my life who I may have done things for, and situations happened where we had a falling out or whatever, and then they had a need, and my pride wouldn't let me meet that need because of pride. But then after I said, hold up, they got a need, and I met that need, I came to the realization that I wasn't where I thought I was, and that when I gave it, I was appreciative and I showed gratitude in them even coming to me, even though we had gone through some things, because it let me know, dude, you growing. Because you would have threw them some birds and told them they number one and told them where to go fly and all that other stuff, but you are growing because you still met the need. You still showing them that it's not even about our relationship, it's about our relationship, that you can get from me whatever I have.
All right. Let me be honest. Have I ever expressed gratitude towards someone who has done me wrong? No. Absolutely not. Why am I grateful that you did me wrong? I cut you out of my life, and to keep it real, I got a couple cans of whoop ass for a few of them sitting on my dresser. Let's get that out of the way. I'm grateful for the lesson that I learned from them doing me wrong, so that way it never happens again. That's what I'm grateful for. I hate the fact that I had to go through it, but I had to go through it to learn this thing about me that I was doing that was attracting this thing that was doing me wrong. So I'm grateful for that. But to them, no. And it sucks that it had to be them to teach me this lesson. But it was. It is what it is. Thank you for teaching me this lesson. But I do not need you in my life. And I feel like you're a little too close to me, so you might want to back up a little bit. You understand what I'm saying? That's just me.
I remember a long time ago, Roland said that you can't judge me based off of who I used to be or something like that. I'm kind of paraphrasing. And for me, when I was in high school, I think I was 16 or 17 years old, and it was Halloween. And there was this guy, we were out being mischievous, and a classmate of mine rolled up on us. They was in the cars, about 4 or 5 of them. They were showing off, and one of the guys pulled out. He came out and he pulled a gun on me. Right, so I'm like 17 years old. The first time I had a gun pulled out on me. Right. Fast forward, I end up seeing him. He ended up becoming a Facebook suggestion for me down the road. And coming to find out, we both were in the military, and we both were in Korea at the same time. So I reached out and I was like, let's link up, because even though that was 17, 18, maybe close to 20 years previously, I had never kind of really let that go. You know what I mean? I was still holding on to it. So we met up, and then, I brought it up, but he had no recollection about what happened. So I had to let it go, but I expressed gratitude because, you know, I was able to go through that. I was able to, you can call it whatever, you can call it closure or whatever, but I was at peace because for a long time, I'd had a bitter taste in my mouth about this guy. But he ended up, being in the military. He ended up retiring as a master sergeant. So who he was at 16 or 17 wasn't the same person he was in the future. So I guess I had some gratitude towards him for even sitting down and talking to me, or even just meeting up, because that's what I wanted to talk about, but he didn't know that. I was just like, hey man, we went to high school together, let's link up and let's have a conversation. But I remember he used to pick on me and different things like that in high school. You know what I mean? So it came all full circle, but at the end of the day, I had some gratitude for him, even, wanting to, even be open to having a conversation, even though he had no recollection of it. At least that's what he said at the time. So, and what I learned from that experience is that, like Roland said, you can't judge someone based off of who they were in the past. Yes, who we were in the past may kind of sort of dictate and kind of come and take into account who we are today, but that is not necessarily who we were. That was him at 17. That wasn't the same guy who was a master sergeant in the army serving his country in Korea with multiple deployments. You know what I mean? So if nothing else, I learned from that, like I said, that people change, and you have to give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes. And I don't know. That's where I'm at.
I just don't. I hear what you and Roland saying, and I'm not mad at your response, but I just don't think that that's gratitude. I think that's more of like forgiveness, more of moving on, more of what's in the past is in the past. But I don't know if that's gratitude. I don't know.
That sounds like
It may
maybe I'm
not
looking
be,
at it
and I'm
different.
okay with, it may not
I
be.
think I was grateful that this situation happened to show me where I was now. So yeah, I was thankful for that. thankful that it was this person, because beforehand I wouldn't have did it, because I wasn't living in that. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. I wasn't living in that. I wasn't living in the reconciliation part. I was living in, I'm a Christian, but what did that mean? That meant I went to church. That didn't mean I was actually doing the work. So I was thankful that it happened. I was grateful.
But I think to Gaddy's point, I think that's different because to his question, he said express gratitude towards. And so I think that's totally different. Sure, I can be grateful for the lesson that I learned in the situation that I've been in. Like, my ex-wife, and I've said it before, like my ex-wife taught me some of the best lessons there were. And I make sure that I would never see that again, right? But the lesson that I learned was internal, right? It took her, the situation I've been through, to learn it. But did I express gratitude? No, I did not.
That's what I'm saying. I did.
Well,
to the person. I expressed it to the person that I was thankful that the Most High allowed them to, this situation happen, and then they come to me like this to show me where I was. Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. Like in a lot of situations, and this is not so much about yours, Roland, but in a lot of situations, I think we can confuse, like what Gaddy is saying, forgiveness. Like I'm agreeing with him. You can forgive a person, right? But forgiving is a charge based upon forgiving a person is a charge based upon what your responsibility is. But expressing gratitude toward that person, a grateful attitude, is almost something on a whole nother level. Like it's almost as though you're going to them and thanking them for what they did to you. And I just believe that it's very few people who have ever experienced that wholeheartedly, or they're just not honest enough with themselves to understand exactly what gratitude really is. Like gratitude, expressing the gratitude, like going back to the beginning of this conversation when Uncle Junior came in, that was a clear display of gratitude. And I think it's rare you'll find where people have the ability to express anything on that level towards a person that actually did something intentionally to hurt them. And I think Michelle put something in there that kind of goes along with it, right? She said everybody has done something to someone, right? So we can't be so arrogant to believe that we're perfect. So I think that pendulum swings both directions, right? We sometimes overinflate the things that we do that aren't bad, right? But then we'll also overinflate the thing that somebody else does that is bad as well, right? So the pendulum has to swing both ways. We have to be completely transparent and honest with who we are and what we're learning about ourselves in real time. And that goes back to Roland's point of being self-aware. Like we have to be self-aware of the attitude that we're expressing. Now, I'm not going back to my point. I didn't express gratitude, but I expressed forgiveness. I expressed the ability to have conversation, and we've had conversation moving forward. I've even helped her a time or two. But again, gratitude, I can't say that I did. I'm just being honest.
And can I and coach, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but so for me, when I'm looking at the actions that were done later, and this is why I say it's not gratitude, because you didn't do it because I learned a lesson from you for doing me wrong, right? You did it because they were in need and you forgave them for whatever happened in the past. And that act of kindness, to the way I'm viewing it, was done not intentional to be grateful for being done wrong, but it was done because you forgave them because of what you learned, and you blessed them when they were in need. Or
True.
Am I missing it?
No, you're not missing it. True, but I kind of pattern it like this. So the forgiveness was, again, my responsibility. That's what I'm charged with doing. I don't have a choice. I have to, right? But then even after forgiving, right, there's another thing that exists in there, and that's the identity of who I am, understanding who I am. So I didn't help them because I didn't help her or anyone because I forgave them. I helped them because of who I am. And once that kicks in, it doesn't matter about anything in the past. It's only about, and you have to be careful because some people will take advantage of you when you start to behave that way, right? So again, once you understand who you are, You don't hold grudges because you understand that has an internal effect that has a very serious effect on you. It could be detrimental to your health. So you don't hold on to anything. You don't hold grudges. You forgive, and as best you can to let go. But like Adrian says, Adrian says, forgive and never forget. You can't forget. It's impossible. It is outside of your capability to forget anything that has ever happened to you. So even in the midst of that, we forgive, but then what we do moving forward is based upon who we are in the Most High. And it is more important for me to display the proper character that shows that I'm an ambassador than to display a character to show that I'm still mad at you. Did I answer your question? Okay. I'll take the head nod as a yes. Bring up Crystal's question, please, because I think that's a good one. Totally different scenario now. What about the work situation? You can't get rid of them. You can't dismiss them. You the leader, you the supervisor. What say ye?
Keep it strictly professional.
What does that mean?
Like, let's say, all right, I'm supervisor or NCO or manager, whatever the situation is, and I create an environment where it's like, hey, we talk about things. We come in, we might talk about the game last night, or we might talk about random stuff, blah blah blah, and we keep going, or we might on the side just talk about some stuff that's going on in our lives, because that's our environment. We talk free as if we're friends and we're working and we're productive, whatever. And then you take some of my information I said and you use it the wrong way. You turn it into gossip, and now my name is skewed. All right, well, when we get to work, I don't have to. And this is not saying that you can't forgive people, but what I'm saying, I don't have to now. We don't have to have all that extra conversation. We could talk about work stuff. We can keep it professional. We don't need to. We ain't talking about the kids no more. We ain't really talking about. We might be able to grow back into that one day, but right now it's just strictly what's going on in the office, and outside of that, talk to your friends, your coworkers about it. That's me. I can't dismiss you, and I can't fire you because you said something negative or misused my words, but I can make our relationship strictly work related.
I have people that I know today that the mere you bring up that name, like I have Sergeant Major friend, and he brought up this other Sergeant Major who I can't stand. Don't like the person because I don't like him as a person because he tried to do me wrong, not behind my back, in my face. And it was like, wow, this dude is dirty. And we don't talk or dialogue. I seen him, Facebook friend request suggestion or whatever. It's like when you aren't in the place and I don't have to work with him. Now, if I had to work with him, too easy. Roger. It's too easy to toe the line, do what I'm supposed to do as a military person or whomever, as a worker or a superior. I can do that. But outside of that, I'm not trying to be friends. I'm not trying to be cool with you. I'm doing a job. So I can separate job from personal feelings. I think all of us in the military had to do that our whole career because there's been some people that you just couldn't stand, whether they was leaders or subordinates.
So I'm the leader and someone under me did something. Is that what we're talking about?
Intentionally.
Intentionally?
Yes, they did something intentionally, probably to harm you or to get you fired. I'm making it drastic. I want all the smoke.
We're having a conversation. We are having a conversation, me, you, and a third party. Or me, you, and this video camera, or me, you, and this tape recorder, me, you, this video camera, and this tape recorder, and somebody else that's neutral. We're about to have a conversation. What is wrong with you? What wrinkle in your brain thought that this was okay? And What did I do to cause you to do this? You understand what I'm saying? Like, and now if you can't answer those questions with something legitimate that we can work out, then I got to go to my higher ups and say, hey, this happened. And he or she said that we can't work it out. So I'm about to pull the trigger and let her go. I don't have a choice, or I'm going to suggest it, but the conversation needs to be had first. I got to understand, like, you want some attention? Did I not say you did a good job? Did I overlook you? What is it? Do you want my job but don't want to work for it? You just want to get me removed so you can apply for it? Let's talk. What's going on? And then if no resolution can come from that, then I got higher ups that I can talk to and explain to them the situation and show them what I got, and then take it from there. But you're not about to mess up my livelihood just because you feel like it. You out of your mind.
Yeah, I get what Chris is saying. I think that we need to find out the intention behind why. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? At least that's what I think. When you find out the why, then you can go left or right. You can figure out a plan from there. But I think you really got to figure out the why. Like, why is this an issue? Why did X, Y, and Z happen? You know what I mean? Why are you trying to sabotage me? Why did you wrong me? Like, what is the reason? Is it miscommunication? Is it X? Is it Y? Is it Z? What is it? And I think from then is where you can start developing a plan to rectify the situation.
I want to, man, I really want to go with that, but I'm a firm believer that once impact happened, intent goes out the door. So at that point, I really don't care about the why. And again, that's me, right? I really don't care about the why once the impact happens. We are a member of a team. You are displaying that you are not a team player. Now, first and foremost, before I go into this conversation, this meeting, whatever that looks like, I go back to my military days and I reflect back on the first stanza of the NCO Creed. No one is more professional than I. So that's the first thing that guards everything I do moving forward, kind of like what I said before, because of who I am. I never forget that. I don't take it back to the streets, right? I don't come up in there like, none of that. You know what I'm saying? No one is more professional than I. So we will sit down, we will have an honest, professional conversation. I don't really care about intent. I care about moving forward because I need to understand that you are a fully functional part of this team. Now, if you are a team of one, I need to find someplace else for you to go so that you can excel in the silo that you want to exist in. But if you're going to be on this team, you're going to be a team player. It doesn't matter what you want to do. It doesn't matter what position you want to be in, whatever the case may be. You want to get promoted? Cool. Display the behavior that says promote me. But other than that, if you're going to cause a rift within the team, then I need to understand that right here, right now, you tell me to my face. And that's just how I bring the conversation. I've been in this situation before. I've literally been in the situation to where, and this was after I retired. I've literally had one person literally working against me, dry snitching, trying to say, well, Mr. Dwyer don't do this, or Mr. Dwyer don't do that, Mr. Dwyer don't do that, until I had to sit him down and say, let me help you to understand what my role is here. I don't do what you do. I supervise, right? You do that. I don't. So I need you to focus on what you do. Make sure that you do everything in your job description to include the things that we talked about when we established your performance measures, right? And then all is fine. Don't worry about what I'm doing. I got this. I got me. If I step out of line, there's somebody I work for. We talk every day. So when all of this came to play, it just did not look good. A couple of weeks later, I showed up with a folder in my hand, right? The folder in my hand, going to see him. By the time I got to his desk, he was gone, and there was a resignation letter on the desk. He knew what was happening, right? But I made sure that I did the right things according to the letter of the law leading up there. Once your emotions get involved with this situation, you have automatically lost. Automatically. And you're fighting an uphill battle from that point on, because I promise you, you're going to do something or say something that's not going to work in your favor. And I think Michelle hit the nail on the head. You got to kill the flesh. Got to kill it.
Well, I just learned something. I guess when I'm in a supervisory position, I'm not supposed to care why you did this dumbness. I'm just supposed to make sure that the consequences are executed. Is that what I'm getting?
Well, it's not so much as the consequences are executed. You got to refocus them back on the reason why they're a part of the team. It's just like conflict resolution, right?
Okay.
If two people get into conflict, right, and they're constantly going through conflict, leaders, you let it happen, right, until it gets intense. Once it gets intense, then you get involved and you point both of them back to the reason why the team has come together. Once they understand that, then they shouldn't have a problem with what it is they're doing. But if they're just conflicting, let them conflict until they figure it out and then they gel and bond together. So it's not so much as you going with the consequence, you're pointing them back to the purpose of the alignment of the team so that they can understand exactly what it is that they're supposed to be doing besides the thing that they actually did, right? And help them also to understand the detriment that it could have caused to the team.
Okay.
Diff-
Makes sense. Makes
diff-
sense.
difficult conversations to have, bro, but you got to relish in it as a leader.
I see.
All right, bring up our next question real quick, please. Okay. How does gratitude influence one's ability to reframe challenges and setbacks as opportunities for growth?
Y'all go. Y'all go.
I think by the nature in which gratitude is developed and learned, uh, it builds a mindset of looking for the lesson, looking for the growth. And sometimes, let's just be real, sometimes, like especially if we're talking professional, there's a lot of times things happen at work that kind of sets things ablaze and it goes crazy, and you're like, how do I get it back to calm, or how do I get this under control so that we can, complete mission, so we can move forward, so we can get the job done. And in that, sometimes uh you have to now search for ways that are different than what you're used to doing, things that are outside of your normal routine, to now handle a special situation. And you learn from that, you grow from that. So sometimes is automatic, just by the nature of you understanding you have to work your way out of the situation, or out of the storm, as we brought up the word storm for today. um and so when you work your way out of it, so you learn things along the way, you see things, and you grow naturally, and now you become more prepared to be proactive in the future when, say, a scenario is approaching. Did I answer it right? Okay.
That was your answer, sir. You
Yeah,
answered it.
your
Right.
answer. Yeah. I think.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Okay, I look at it as in my head, I'm picturing a 40-year-old guy who may still live with his mom, like in his mom's basement or something, right? So we would look at that and be like, man, this guy may be a bum or whatever like this, but he can look at that. If he has gratitude, he can look at that as an opportunity for growth. And here's what I mean. If you stand at your mom's basement and you're 40 years old, then you might have an opportunity to go to school for free because you may not have to pay rent. You know what I mean? So you can go to school for 18 months, whatever, like this, and then your life can be totally different in 18 to 24 months. So I look at it as, when you can see your situation and see that there's an opportunity to be better. And I can definitely see the challenge in this because this is where I used to be at some point. You know what I mean? It's like you're in a hole and it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel or the light at the top of the hill. So I think when you can look at it and be like, you know what, I've overcome everything that I've been through in my life up to this point. And for most people, we have. If you're still alive and you're over 45, you have been through a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? And you have gotten over probably 90-something% of that. You know, every time that someone bullied you in school or picked on you in school, but you're still here, you're still going to work, you have money in your account, different things like that. So, you know, I think that, you know, at the end of the day, you know, if we can reflect back on some of those different things that we have been through and understand that most people have been through everything that they've been through, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like if you can shift and change your mindset, I think that that's where the opportunity for growth lies. And I may have jacked this whole thing up, but it is what it is. And it's my birthday, so I get a pass.
You damn right.
That,
Shout
that
out to
you
Unc.
do.
Happy
That-
birthday.
He just
That
took
you
it like.
People make their own rules, don't they?
I had my one of my 1-year-old grandsons today, and you know he's starting to walk. So I'm like, okay, time for potty training. And potty training, he will walk right past the potty and pee right next to it, poop right next to it, whatever. And those would be considered setbacks because he sat on the potty and peed in the potty and yay and all that before. And that's how life is, because when it's time to get up, I'm gonna clean it up and we're gonna try it again. So when it comes to the setbacks and all these failures and things like that, it's another opportunity for me to keep going, because I can't focus on what was or what happened or what didn't happen. I got to focus on where I'm going, not where I came from. So I don't know. I think it's a mentality that you have to develop, because all too often we look at what was and what happened, what our mama didn't do, what our daddy didn't do. Like I was talking about my father, you know, about my sisters and everything, and what he didn't do it, and he didn't want to have that conversation because he didn't want nobody throwing things up in his face. And I'm like, yeah, I can understand that, because, and then I had to talk to the sister, be like, hey, when you talk, if you just gonna focus on what happened, this is just you trying to vent. You need to go see a therapist and not him, because he can't fix that. You trying to have him answer for things that happened here, whereas he's moved on from that. So now you're trying to put him back in that place, and that's putting him in an uncomfortable position, and he's not ready to dialogue about it. So if you saying you can't move until you have that conversation, you're gonna be stuck there just like a baby in a dirty pamper. So it's a mindset shift that we have to come to grips with, where we can say, man, I said I'm mature, I said I'm growing, now I have to be what I said I am, and stop just saying it and walking.
I like everybody's response. What I would share is that from a scientific perspective, there are neurons within your brain. And when we're focusing on the a lower attitude, I say it that way, lower attitude versus higher attitude. When we're focusing on a lower attitude, it's almost like certain branches in your brain turn dormant. So they don't necessarily fire off the electricity that it's supposed to. So therefore, the only options that you will consider will be down here. As you start reconditioning and retraining your thought processes to consider these options, to think on this level, to consider this, think up here, right? Then what you'll find is that these dormant cells, these dormant neurons, will now start to ignite. They start functioning again. It's easy to. It's like looking at a tree and all of the branches, right? It's kind of like what it is. And so when you see branches die, you have to go and prune it. Well, you can't prune the neurons in your brain, so they just lay dormant and no electricity flows through them, or very minimal electricity flows through them. So when you elevate your thought processes and those neurons are firing on all cylinders, which is kind of like one of the versions of that phrase in conjunction with a car. When they're firing on all cylinders, you explore every option because you don't necessarily automatically turn them away at the thought or the drop of a dime. It's like going back in time and thinking that certain things weren't available to you because you were of a particular hue or of a particular sex or of a particular height, right? So once you eliminate those thoughts, then now you can think differently. And so in thinking differently, sure, I may not necessarily be on an NBA basketball team, but that does not necessarily mean I can't be in the NBA. I think we talked about this one time, Uncle, on your show. That doesn't mean I can't necessarily be on the NBA. But because ideally in the beginning I automatically ruled myself out, I ruled everything out that has NBA tied to it. And so that's what it's like when you start thinking on a higher plane, when you start thinking, when you start having a higher elevated attitude, when you start being grateful for most things, when you start being grateful for the little things as well as the big things, then you will start looking for reasons to be grateful. And in the midst of looking for reasons to be grateful, you'll stop looking at things and say, oh, well, they always do that. They're terrible people, blah, 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 blah. Well, maybe that's not the answer. Maybe it's just that they were placed in terrible situations and it's very difficult for them to climb out of that. And so it takes somebody that has a grateful attitude to say, hey, how can I help? So again, you guys get a chance that, and it goes for everybody who's listening as well. You get a chance, just go check it out. Like your brain fires. It's a lot of electricity that goes on in here. And the more activity that happens, the more clear you think. The less activity happens, then what you'll find is that you think doom and gloom most of the time. So, that said, gentlemen, thank you so much for all of your responses. Same thing for everybody in the chat. But this takes us to our bittersweet moment, which are our final thoughts. And I'm going to do something a little different tonight because what I want everybody to do, if you will bring up the practical tips for our final thoughts, please, ma'am. The question under practice. There you go. So I want everybody to look at this question. I want you to formulate your final thoughts on this. So for everybody who's out there in the social media world, what are some simple daily practices or exercises that individuals can use to cultivate gratitude in their lives? That's what I want our final thoughts to be. So that said, gentlemen, the floor belongs to you, and we're starting off with our brother from another mother, Mr. Fresh Haircut himself. Right. Chris, Chris,
I
you got
can't with y'all.
go ahead, brother. You got the floor.
All right. Here's something that I do when I get up. I meditate for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I take my medicine, and then I sit down at my dining room table and I write out 3 things that I'm grateful for, just to start out the day. That's something that I got from, I was watching some YouTube video, and it was part of their daily routine. I couldn't remember who it was, but it was some millionaire, and I've just been doing that ever since. It's like sometimes there are days that I would have to find things that I'm grateful for because I've already written out a lot of the things that I'm grateful for, and it's like there's always something to be grateful for. There's always something to be thankful for. There's always something that you can say, yeah, I'm good with this. There's always something. Um, so yeah, that's what I do.
All right, here we go. So I'll start with where he started, right? When we talk about meditation, with prayer and meditation, I say, and in your prayers, let's pray about your mindset and your thought process. Read scripture, right? Store up in yourself word, things that you can fall back to, gain an understanding of it, right? Not just reading it to have memory scriptures, but reading it to understand it. And then I don't know if y'all remember, my brother Roland was doing words of affirmation. It's like, so you're feeding yourself positivity. You're feeding yourself the word of the Most High. You're praying to the Father. You're starting your day off in a positive set, right? Not just coffee and go, right? You getting your mind right and prepared to think on things that are greater than our normal plane of thinking, right? Philippians, was it 4? Think on these things, right? If it has any virtue. So I think when that happens, as we begin to move into life, we'll start to see things through the lens of what we've affirmed in ourselves, or see things through the lens of the scripture, see things through the spirit. And now when we come back around to our scenarios that weigh on us, we're not stressed automatically. Automatically we can start to think with more gratitude, because we understand that he has everything in his hand. He's shaping us, he's molding us, he's trying us by fire in hopes that we'll come out as pure gold. All right, that's what he's doing. And so because of that, because I'm storing that up in me every day, and I understand his work at hand, then I know growth is imminent, and I'm grateful.
The title of this podcast is called the Empowering Perspective Podcast. And if you look at the title for the show, it's called Shifting Perspectives During Darker Days. Coach has always said, he has always talked about polarities. So if there are darker days, then there are going to be brighter days. When it comes to gratitude, understanding that when you're in the dumps or in the dark area, that there is eventually going to be brighter days. Some of the simple daily practices that people can do is simply seek out opportunities to be grateful, and to be thankful. So if someone does something for you, I know it may seem little, but saying thankful, you know what I mean? And then if you just saying it and you don't really feel it or think anything about it, go back and look at the situation and think about, why did I actually say thank you to this person for holding the door, or for doing X or doing Y or doing Z? So I think simply, saying thank you using manners is a simple exercise. And then, like I said before, was to look for opportunities to serve. Servitude will really help not only your empathy, but also help you be grateful and show and understand gratitude. When you're around people, or when you experience people who don't have or maybe not have as much as you do, you can become a little bit more grateful of the life that you have. If you go visit nursing homes and you see people who have, a couple of more years to live, you may be a little bit more grateful and thankful for the amount of time that you have. So sometimes just putting yourself in different situations can also be a simple practice or exercise that people can use to cultivate gratitude in their lives.
First Thessalonians 5:22 says, abstain from all appearance of all evil. And when you're looking at evil, it's not just you out there doing bad things, it's you doing anything that's contrary to what the Most High would have you to do, or what he would do. So when I wake up in the morning and I do all the meditation and all those things, anything that comes that I consider negative, I come with 3 positives. Not positives, period, but positives about this whole situation with this so-called negative thing. And that's why I try to shift my mindset from how I look at it, how I think about it, because it may be, somebody I woke up and, who left a little bit of milk in here, who ate all the peanut butter Captain Crunch, and it's something small, but I'm focused on it in a negative way. And like, okay, I got the money to go to the store and get some more. I don't have a problem with that. So now I start to change how I see things, so that now anything that tries to curtail my view of or focus of positivity, I throw some positivity on top of it. That way I have more positive ventures than I do negative. And that becomes my daily life. That becomes my daily talk. And I don't complain, and I don't this and I don't that. Because when I start to do that, I surround my people that do that. I surround myself with people that do the same, and people that listen to it, and they moping and complaining, Then next time you know, you are having a bad day, and you are. So when you say those things and you make sure to say your affirmations and speak positively to yourself about yourself, hey, I'm the cat's meow in my book now, because I'm looking at things not that I'm the best at everything, but I'm here and I'm available to be something that somebody can use in this day. That's it.
Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. I think it's important that we exercise the art of thinking about what we actually think about. Like that's one of the things that we don't do enough. We don't do enough. We don't do enough of that. It's called metacognition. It is our responsibility to understand the thoughts that we are currently having and reshape those thoughts, right, to a thought that serves us better. Repurpose those thoughts higher. Chris kind of said it earlier. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It's only repurposed, right? So it's your responsibility to be consciously aware of what you're thinking and how you're thinking and why you're thinking. Analyze that situation and then restructure it so that when that situation presents itself again, you're thinking up here instead of down here. I am very intentional, and I don't always get it right. I am very intentional on not having idle chatter. Like I'm telling you, for me, that is a showstopper because whenever I get to the point to where I am talking to somebody, whether it's on the phone or face to face, if the conversation becomes stale or dormant, I have to do something. I have to change I have to change the scenery. I have to change the environment. I have to change the atmosphere. Why? Because two grown adults, three, four, five grown adults having conversation and the conversation ain't going anywhere. You're not talking about anything uplifting, edifying, anything of that nature, then I have to pull out of it because it doesn't serve you or me well. That said, I am also intentional about having certain conversations every day. There are certain gates that I meet. I wake up at 4:30 every morning and I do something that uplifts me. I listen to a video or I read a book or I actually start meditating on a particular thing, something that I'm working on. Then later on, I'm having a conversation about what the word actually says. Then later on, I'm talking about it in real time based upon what I observe in today's society. And that's the only way I talk about anything that has to do with, outwardly. So I think that's important. When we do those things, when you become intentional about what you think, how you think, and understand the situations or scenario that has your thinking down here in the dumps and finding a way of repurposing that up here. This is what I would normally say. What can I say now that serves me better? That's how you get to the point to where those neurons start firing. And when those neurons start firing, what you'll find is that you will start coming up with better ideas. You'll start coming up with better solutions. You will literally start being a value added wherever you go. So that being said, listen, on behalf of these esteemed gentlemen that are on we kind of lost one. He's coming back. On behalf of these esteemed gentlemen here and the brother with the fresh haircut, right? On behalf of everybody, everybody that's in the chat, listen, we appreciate you. We value you. If you're still with us, we will be live tomorrow morning at 10:30. Right, we will do our monthly meetup and we are talking about adultery and idolatry. So again, if you really want your perspective challenge, come on over there because I promise you, you're gonna hear some things that and we ain't trying to hurt nobody's feelings. We're just telling you the truth, right? So that being said, I want everybody to understand how much we appreciate you. If you are still listening to us right now, and I think I can speak for every one of these gentlemen on this panel, we appreciate you, we value you, and we really look forward to talking to you every Friday night at 8 p.m. here on the Hearts of Men podcast. That said, next week, same time, we'll see you then. Have a great rest of your evening and a fantastic weekend, and be a blessing.